down takes on who we are. Then a thought hits quick like a locker slam. What if I just play the songs that raised this man? Donnie, spin that track.
Whoa, it took a while. I forgot to put on my microphone. Holy shit. It'll happen again, trust me. How's everybody doing? Are you stuck in snow and rain? What do you think? What's going on where you're at? Hopefully it's warm. Pretty cool where I am. I don't know, what is it right now? It's snowing, so let's see, weather. It says it's 32 degrees right now. But it's snowing because I just went outside to let the dogs out.
First drum hit and he's 16 once more. Friday night dances, cheap cologne in the air. That one slow song, she twisted his hair. Now the chat types, yo, I remember this too. And the whole world shrinks to a gym in O2.
Took some of these pictures this morning. See all the snow outside. This is up at my mailbox. Really snowy up there. Donnie going outside. All our trees are pretty stuffed with snow. And they're going outside. Kind of like that photo right there. But yeah, that's what it looks like around here right now. It's probably getting better because it's snowing right now too. I got a cough for some reason all of a sudden. Anyways, all right, let's get this show started. Hope y'all are having a great and wonderful day. And oh my goodness, So this lady, a 41-year-old lady, won, I believe, an Olympic gold medal either yesterday or today. And, well, her child is very disabled. And so this is what she did when she won for her kid. Let's see. Okay, we're going to pause. And let's go here.
And how about 41-year-old Alana Myers-Taylor? The one thing missing in her storied career. She said she couldn't pass up the opportunity to win a first ever Olympic gold. Now she's got it, and a moment to celebrate with her family. The message, Mommy won. Much more from Milan. And how about 41-year-old Alana Myers-Taylor? The one thing missing in her storied career. She said she couldn't pass up the opportunity to win a first ever Olympic gold. Now she's got it. And
I don't know what she won an Olympic gold in, though. Alana Myers-Taylor. Let's see what she won her gold for. Because it doesn't say. You know, you'd think they would say. Bobsledder. Oh, she won it in bobsledding. Okay. Okay, bobsledding. Remember that movie, Cool Runnings? John Candy movie. That's an old John Candy movie, in fact. That's an oldie buddy goodie. Oldie buddy goodie. Oldie buddy goodie. Oldie butta goodie. All right, so things are getting a little crazy over there near Iran. And this is breaking news. Numerous United States Air Force aerial refueling tankers are crossing Europe, heading towards the Middle East. So you see they're heading down, they're going down. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, I got a friend that's in Turkey. But yeah, wow. Don't know what's going to happen. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be something big happening down there. We have to keep an eye out for it. It probably happened, well, it would have happened already, I guess, if they did it at night, right? Because it's, I don't know, unless they want to go really super early in the morning. All right, so breaking news. President Trump is calling on GOP senators to pass the Save America Act and just posted footage exposing election fraud in 2020 when they taped up the windows. I remember when they taped up these windows. Remember? You guys remember?
From?
Oh, I'm from downriver.
Okay.
I'm here because of the 38,000 ballots that arrived here at 3:45 a.m. that are just now sitting over there and getting counted,
Okay.
supposedly.
Okay.
And that's why I arrived.
Okay.
To an eye-opening of hypocrisy, let me tell you.
Something I want you to see, they're taping up the windows, security's taping up the windows so that people who are challenging cannot see in here and he can't see out. So it's an interesting development.
I began observing the process of ballots at several counting boards. I quickly noticed that none, and I mean none of the names were being scanned from the ballots were in the electronic poll books. All of the names that were found in the supplemental sheets. We know that the poll books, the electronic poll books, were updated on Sunday, November 1st.
That meant, so I guess I can finish the statement for him. That meant that those names should not have been on the supplemental list, is probably what he was going to say. And, I don't know why he cut it off right there, Who knows? All right, yesterday, Iran temporarily closed down parts of the Strait of Hormuz, citing safety and maritime concerns. The move follows United States strikes, threats, and ongoing indirect nuclear talks in Geneva. The strait carries nearly 20% of the world's oil. So the Strait of Hormuz, I'm guessing, Iran temporarily closes this area right here, the strait, which goes into Iraq and Iran. But Iran can still, ship stuff out this way, right? Which they do. They ship from here. So were they blocking? They're blocking in Iran, maybe? I don't know. Crude oil products, 19.5 million barrels. Gas is 50 BCM. I don't know what the BCM stands for. But I think we're definitely going to start seeing some serious action in Iran. Who knows? It might be going on right now, and we just don't even know it yet. Because they're hiding it from us. All right. What the heck is going on? The media has been disabled due to a report of copyright by the owner. What the hell? Okay, hold on. Let's see if we can find it. Control C. Let's go here. Yeah, this person is totally anti-American, went talking shit about America. And then they got 13th place. Do you guys think that they deserved it? See, look, their video's gone. This video's gone. This video's gone. All the videos are gone of it. Well, here we can at least read it. Anti-American queer team U.S. skater Amber Glenn finished 13th at the Winter Olympics. She blames President Trump. Glenn said Trump is attacking LGBTQ while overseas, which may have led to losing focus and bailing out on a triple loop, which cost the figure skater 7 to 8 points and a 13th place finish. No, it's just your fault, bitch. You're over there to ski. To skate. You're not there to do anything else. That's your dumbass fault. That's what you get. Stop blaming other people. That's the world we live in nowadays, right? And I gotta admit, I used to be that person. I went to go pick somebody up. They called me and I was sleeping. They're like, "Hey, dude, our car broke down. Can you come pick us up?" And so I got up. I had a suspended license. And I was like, "Dude, I got a suspended license right now, bud." And he's like, "Oh." So I drove all the way up to Buellton, which is like 30 minutes away. And I pull behind him, and everybody's jumping in my car, and I was just about to pull off, right? And then the cops pull up. And I was like, "Frank, tell him you're driving." He's like, "Idiot, you're the one in the driver's seat. I'm not going to lie." And because this guy was going to become a cop, right? So I blamed him when it's my fault. I should have said, "Hey, Frank, can you drive the car? Since you got a license, drive us back." But no, I wanted to drive because it's my car and I'm a driver. And so that was my fault. But I used to do that kind of stuff too. So I get it. Doesn't mean it's right though. I finally learned not to do that kind of stuff. Whoops. Let's see. Now I miss where I am. Did you just hear that loud noise? You know what that is? So I got trees all up around me and the snow is still falling off of them. And hitting my shipping container. And I got a 40-foot long shipping container. So it's, yeah. All right, Kevin O'Leary infuriates CNN panel by calling them all nuts. Well, they are nuts. They're crazy liberals.
Kevin, a quick last word.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm
My
not sure.
last word is, you're all nuts. Like, that's just...
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Kevin.
Guys,
am I in on
please.
that? Okay.
Look, we got to keep it together here, okay?
We are. Too late.
Honestly, I mean, there's a way to
Look at that
talk
lady
about these
scowl.
things. If you don't have anything to say, just say
No,
that,
I
and I
just
won't
said
come to you
something
next
very
time.
important.
You don't
All
have
right,
basic
next
information,
for us,
Kevin. You don't
everyone.
know who's running for
Everyone,
the Senate
thank
in
you
Texas.
for being here.
That was a stretch. It was
Next,
insane.
excuse me.
A shovel to the
Excuse me.
ballots?
Stop,
What's the shovel?
Kevin. Stop.
The federal
I love Mr. Wonderful.
Next for us.
He's great.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about?
Because you're creating the likelihood where he can
What
come up with a
likelihood? He's
different...
going to make fake ballots for the next time out of the old ballots from this time? Oh, okay.
But he's seen cases involving federal agents with a Venezuelan national in Minneapolis, who they claimed had charged them with a snow shovel and attacked them.
What does that have to do with the
Let me get my
ballot?
point across, and then you can. And the point is
Help me,
that
help me.
the point is that they charged them criminally, and when they went to court, evidence proved that what they had
What does
said
that have to
was
do
a
with
lie.
ballots?
That this government lies. That's the point.
All right, Kevin, a quick last word.
Democrats lie all the time.
Which I'm
My
not sure.
last word is, you're all nuts. Like, that's just...
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Kevin. That's
Guys,
am I in on
please.
that? Okay.
Look, we got to keep it together here, okay?
We are. Too late.
Honestly.
Well, they are all nuts. They're a whole bunch of crazy liberals, except for Mr. Wonderful and that other guy that was on the panel. All right, so this is more on Iran. I ran so far away. So 4 United States F-15s are heading towards the Middle East with larger tankers providing aerial refueling support. Interesting. But why, the F-15s aren't our good ones right now, aren't? What is it? The F-35s are the big daddies of our planes, the 5th generation planes? And there's already warships down there, right? They have a whole bunch. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Something's about to happen, though, big time. Something's about to happen big time. And Iran is not going to be too happy after they get destroyed and completely pummeled by the United States of America. Because we're just Billy Badass like that. All right, so breaking news. Buyer's remorse is flooding New Yorkers after Ugandan mayor Donnie threatens to surge property taxes, which would hurt over 3 million households. What is it, like 10 million people, 11 million people living in New York? Holy crap, they really asked for it. They're getting it. This ends up hurting the people he proposed he'd help. 3 million homes. Kathy Hochul and lawmakers would have to cave to Mamdani's demands. Wow, let's just watch the video.
The city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
That's what he always wanted to do. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani is applying heavy pressure on Governor Hochul in an election year after unveiling his $127 billion budget proposal, giving Albany an ultimatum. Either approve tax increases on the rich and the corporations, or Mamdani will raise property taxes by nearly 10%. Joining us out to explain this, what it means, those two paths, is the co-host of the Big Money Show. She's got a big announcement at the end of this on Fox Business, Jackie DeAngelis. Jackie, you said this is distressing.
Oh, very distressing. And what I noticed in that soundbite, you guys called it an ultimatum. I'd go as far to call it a threat. And I don't like to see elected officials threatening each other in this way. Hochul's worried about her reelection, and she knows that a tax hike in any way, shape, or form will not be received well by voters. So this isn't just about her winning. It's that people don't want it, and he doesn't get that message.
But he'll probably do it if she wins and Bruce Blakeman. She'll probably do it anyway, just like the whole congestion pricing thing, which she swore she wouldn't do.
And it was debacle.
So let's break this down. Option number one, tax the wealthy. Raise the taxes already on corporations. We're already one of the most unattractive tax states in the country. Can only be approved by the state government. That's where Kathy Hochul comes in. But so does the legislature. And the Governor Hochul has insisted she isn't in favor of that, but she's already given a little bit on child care, too.
Yes. And what she's trying to do is the reasonable, sensible thing. But that's when he pivots and he says, OK, if you don't give me what I want, here's what I'm going to do. And this is what is distressing, because this ends up hurting the people, many of them, that he proposed that he would help with affordability, because these 3 million homes that are going to get hit with this real estate tax, these are not all millionaires. These are a lot of very normal people that will end up not being able to afford to live here. They will flee the city, and the problem gets worse.
Yep. Are the rich people really already fleeing New York? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay. Oh, this was one I was trying to find for Sneaky Pete. So Justin, outrage is erupting after a 61,000 square foot Islamic facility being established in Georgia. It is being described as the American Gaza Strip. So let's see what this lady has to say, and I'll search for that.
Hey, y'all, I wanted to do a little morning update before we hit the campaign trail. I'm running for District 12 Congress in Georgia. We've been boots on the ground since August. We're working really hard. I'm really thankful for all the support on the page, all the donations from all over the country, and just so much support. But I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you follow my page past couple of days. If you haven't, you need to scroll down. A few days ago, I came across this 61,000 square foot Muslim dining and shopping facility that's being developed in Kennesaw. The real estate developer is Palestinian. His brother, who's doing all the legal paperwork, is also Palestinian. I watched some videos. They jokingly call it the Gaza Strip. All these videos have hidden innuendos in them of the community, aka Muslim community. Well, the brother attacked me pretty hard. They brought up some stuff that it's whatever. It's about my personal life, but I started digging more, because the more you push me, the more I'm going to dig. And I came across this other facility that they are trying to rezone for in Lilburn, which is 24,400 square feet, including 104 tenant properties. It went before the rezoning board in August 2025, and what it appears, it was kicked back due to some legalities. That other people said it was the neighboring community that didn't want it. I'm not really sure, but what concerned me was the fact that the LLC's name was Taqwa. If you look that up, that's Sharia-based finance. That should be concerning to everyone. If you look at what's going on in Texas right now, we have to stop this right now, and you need to show up at your board meeting. Also, let's talk about Ruwa Roman, who's running for governor. Jordan-born, raised in Georgia. She was the communications director for the Georgia chapter of the Council on...
So what would you say if you saw this big, huge Muslim thing coming up in your... And so this is what it looks like, apparently. And this is just a part of it. It's also supposed to have a shopping center and all kinds of stuff like that. Wow. I wouldn't like that, especially, I mean, we're a Christian country, and Muslims, they want Christians dead, right? So why should we be supporting this, and why should we be allowing this in our country if we're a Christian country? It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense at all. Okay, new details are emerging about a heated meeting on Saturday afternoon at the Bayrischer Hof Hotel in Munich between several senators and members of Congress and the Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, along with Greenland's Premier Jens Frederik Nielsen. So this was in where all the people were at over the weekend. It says it was during this meeting that Senator Lindsey Graham reportedly went completely off the rails. The American outlet Puck had previously described how so-called F-bombs were thrown around the room. Imagine Graham on his worst day, a source told Puck. But Berling's, I guess that's how you say his name, can now reveal that the events unfolded even more violently than previously reported, and that Graham's outburst was directed in particular at Mette Frederiksen and Jens Frederik Nielsen. He called her little lady, a source who was in the room told him. However, the Prime Minister did not appear affected by what everyone present perceived as extreme, degrading, and outright sexist. She seemed cool, they said. When Graham had finished, Frederiksen simply responded, "When you're done with that, the meeting can continue." Whatever, fuck you, dude. Earlier, Graham had also stressed to Frederiksen and Nielsen that Donald Trump was the president of the United States and thus the most powerful man in the world, which he is. The implication neither Denmark nor Greenland should believe they are anything in comparison with the mighty United States, which I believe is true. This rant, as a Danish source who was present in the room described, it came across as extremely demeaning toward Denmark and Greenland, particularly after the little lady remark directed at Frederiksen. So Graham's behavior was described by sources as outright disturbing, shocking, and extremely inappropriate, and they were probably all liberals. An American theatrical scene also unfolded between Graham and Premier Jens Frederik Nielsen. Sorry, 1 second. Got something in my throat. So Graham yawned directly in his face in a way that could only be interpreted as mocking. It became too much for some of the American participants at the meeting, and Senator Elisa Slockett, a Democrat, was reportedly so shocked that she stood up and left the meeting. Aw, poor baby. In a sense, the meeting marked the culmination of Graham's angry outburst. Already on Friday, he had stunned observers on live television when he asked about Greenland. Who the hell cares who owns Greenland, Graham said. According to C-SPAN, participants in the meeting described this conduct as completely out of line. According to the information, there was quiet speculation afterward as to whether the senator from South Carolina had lost his composure entirely, whether he was not in his right mind when he was meeting the Danish and Greenlandic leaders. Only Graham himself knows the answer to that. Well, I mean, he was right. We are like a big, mighty superpower, right? Nobody should fuck with us because, well, we can kick everybody's ass out there. Just saying. Just saying, right? Oops, what did I do wrong? Hold on, I messed up. Once again, I messed up. To the extent invoking the talking filibuster is even a risk, and I'm not all sure it is, it must be weighed against the risk of not doing it to pass the SAVE Act of America. The longest talking filibuster ever was a 60-day multiple speaker failed Democrat attempt to block the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Tying up the floor for an unlimited amount of time is a risk, but if you don't take that risk, the SAVE Act is DOA. I think we definitely need the talking standing filibuster.
Doing that. In fact, the previous majority has not been able to.
Right. Well, you know, I guess, and I would just remind people that the coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it, and we have a lot of things we have to do. There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill. You can go right down the list. Russia sanctions, there are a whole bunch of things that could be teed up for action on the floor of the Senate. And so you have to make some judgments, and the conference will have a conversation about that. I've committed to that we will talk about that idea and determine whether or not what the conference's views are about it and how they want to proceed. As I said, we will vote on the SAVE Act, but exercising or triggering a talking filibuster has ramifications, implications that I think everybody needs to be aware of. So we will have those discussions, but that's obviously ties the floor up for an indefinite amount of time with not only unlimited...
But it's worth it. We have to say it's the SAVE Act because we're saving our fucking country, bro.
You ready? Thumbs up back there? Thumbs up from everybody, okay. Well, I'm Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina.
Speaking of Lindsey Graham.
I'm back. I come here every 2 weeks whether I need to or not. So why did I come this time? To put a fine point of where we're at as a world regarding the Iranian regime.
Oh, that was something different. Okay, we don't want to get that far into this stuff. But yeah, the SAVE Act, we need the SAVE Act. Right? Otherwise, Democrats are just going to continue to cheat on the elections and win. Either that or we just need to start cheating like they are. Right? But I don't think the Republicans have it in them. What? Dude, I gave you some food to eat. You got food in your bowl. Just drank water. Right before the show, I let you outside. What do you want now, Donnie? What do you want now, handsome? What do you want? All right, let's get up to this. Eric Trump just laid it out after getting canceled harder than anyone in 2020 and 2021. The Trump's family now flipping the script. They're pushing to modernize finance so no one ever gets debanked or shut out like that again. Let's see what they're doing here.
I'm curious what you're trying to accomplish here, because it's not just a crypto conference. World Liberty is a crypto company, but you have CEOs from Goldman Sachs and big hedge fund managers. What's the goal?
I think we're trying to modernize finance. We're the most canceled people in the world in 2020, 2021. And it's really great to almost have this retribution where all of a sudden we start pushing an agenda. Our agenda was to modernize finance, to allow that to never, ever, ever happen to anybody again.
I'm curious what...
Man, I wonder what it would be like to be rich like them. You know, I know there's people richer than them, like Elon Musk. Like, could you imagine Elon Musk's son? What it must be like growing up to the richest with the richest man in the world, your dad. All right, so father's so furious after his kid's school walks out to protest ICE, and he has to leave work to pick them up. You have like 1,000 kids on the overpass. One almost got... So let's see what this guy does. I haven't seen this one yet, but it should be pretty interesting.
here to check out Ada Milan because of protesting. You know, you got kids down there on the overpass just about got hit by a car just a second ago. About caused a wreck. Sad.
We do have admins out. Who should be sent.
You have like 1,000 kids on the overpass. One just about got hit by a car.
Okay, we did let the deputies know because the students that did walk out, the deputies are dealing with. They had a ICE protest on campus that was friendly and was supposed to be safe for that.
This is for school. This isn't for kids shouldn't be involved in that shit. This is for learning. I have to leave work because while I'm working, I have to worry about what you're manipulating my kids into listening to. It's bullshit. It's fake media. I want my son out of here now. Can you call him up here and get him out of here?
Can I get the students? That's right.
Aiden Lalonde.
I need you to write down the student's name.
Well,
Are you
should know how to spell that. His mother. Anywhere else you go, you say somebody's name, and you know you should look it up.
I understand that, sir. We just have that's just the policy. We have the parents write their student's name.
What's the point of that policy?
Can I see your ID?
Oops, sorry for that. Oh, I thought it was going to be more than that. I thought there was more to that, but I guess there wasn't. Okay. But still, I would have done the same thing, Dad. Go, Dad. Go, Dad. So Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg arrives for expected testimony at landmark social media trial in Los Angeles, but it doesn't say what it is. Let's see if we can find out what it's about. Because I haven't seen anything on it on the rest of the news today that I've brought up. So let's see if we can find out what happened today. Latest tax evasion scheme sitting pretty next to the cruise terminal in Fort Lauderdale. Must be nice to have all that money that you stole because you stole your friend's idea. See, still nothing about it. Wow, why is there such little about this? Why is it so quiet? Does anybody know what was going on here? Can anybody help us out? All right, Senator John Kennedy just confirmed that a new law bans the government from sending dead people taxpayer dollars. Oh, good. This is something we need.
We send billions of dollars to dead people, and they get cash. The checks get cash. It's obviously a lot of fraud.
And we're talking about Social Security checks.
No, we're talking about all kinds of checks.
All kinds of checks.
Yep. When you die, Katie, your name, not that you're going to die anytime soon, but when you die, your name goes to the Social Security Department. And they have a list of dead people. But they wouldn't share it with anybody else. They wouldn't share it with the Department of Treasury, for example. And I went to them and I said, why won't you tell Treasury who the dead people are? And Social Security said, well, we don't have the legal authority. And I said, sure you do. And they said, no, we don't. So I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with them. So I had to go pass a bill. It took 4 years to pass a bill. Believe it or not, I had opposition. But we finally got it passed. And so far as I can tell, dead people can still vote, but they can't cash checks because we're not going to be sending them to them anymore. And it's going to save billions and billions and billions of dollars. Well, we send billions.
Good. Now we just got to get them to stop voting. Can we get that done? We can, as long as we pass the SAVE Act. That's why it's so important to pass the SAVE Act, folks. All right, Matthew Branner, a Democrat-appointed Superior Court judge in California, ruled that Rady Children's Hospital must continue offering gender-affirming care to minors despite the hospital's decision to stop it. How can a judge force this on a business? So you saying that if you sell shoes, you're Al Bundy and you got a shoe business, and you no longer want to sell Nike shoes there anymore, that a judge can now say, well, I know it's your business, but we're going to force you to sell Nike shoes. What the fuck?
It's fair to say, or is it not? Right now, the issues are flux.
A judge here in downtown San Diego ruled that Rady Children's Hospital will need to continue offering
I hate when people hold their mic like that.
gender-affirming care at least through March 10th, with the exception of any major surgeries.
Are you being a little preemptive at this point?
I'm Dana Williams, a reporter with NBC here in San Diego. You may remember all of this came in mid-January when Rady Children's Hospital came out and said they were halting all gender-affirming care for patients under the age of 19. And why they did this, they say they were concerned after a mid-December declaration from RFK Jr., Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, that said that any hospital that does offer gender-affirming care could be at risk of losing federal funding and losing out on federal programs.
I'm sorry, this is that microphone. It has a fucking clip, folks. It has a clip. Her microphone has a clip too. And all you got to do is, you see, you got the wired part, you know, and you just wire it up to your shirt. And that way, you don't have to hold nothing. She just likes holding something in her hand, I guess.
Like Medicare and Medicaid.
I think it's a risk that we cannot take. There are 800,000 kids with hundreds of thousands of emergency room visits per day. And that is the impossible situation we are in right now.
Then that decision put them really in between the federal government and the state government. And Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, came in and filed a lawsuit against Rady Children's Hospital, saying that they cannot decide by themselves to no longer offer gender-affirming care. And that was part of the decision made today while this sort of plays out and while the council with the attorneys on both sides work on what to do moving forward. The judge said, Rady, you need to continue to offer most of your services in the meantime. Rady Council, though, hunkered down and reiterated that they are so concerned about losing this funding. They called it an imminent risk. The judge says in the event that they get a notice from HHS that they will lose federal dollars, they'll be back in this courtroom within 24 hours. Try to figure out what to do next. Again, all of this really only lasting until March 10th when the next hearing is scheduled.
So it's basically about the almighty dollar. They don't care about stopping gender-affirming care. They just know they're going to lose federal funding if they do it. What a joke. This whole, I know it's a capitalist area, and I love capitalism. But, you guys know, right? You guys know. All right, Jamie Kennedy, the Malibu or whatever. I forget. He had a couple shows, a couple movies and stuff. He actually, I guess he's not relevant anymore, so he can say this, or maybe he just doesn't care. But he's a Hollywood actor, and listen to what he says.
People are protesting ICE, okay? And I understand the situation it's a crazy situation.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have actors from the red carpet of an award show on there saying, all of this stuff about we're under a fascist regime, we're an authoritarianism, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, bro, you're literally guarded by the most top. It's insanity. You can't say you're under authoritarian rule when you're literally being authoritarian. I see all these people from Brentwood, and they're now in Sundance.
I love Brentwood.
And they're like, oh, this and this and this and this. I'm like, you're in Sundance.
You know why?
If you care, you wouldn't be in Sundance.
No.
Get on the front lines. It's a very wild situation. I get it. There's a lot of crazy things happening. But if you're protesting the people that are trying to, in theory, they're basically just trying to get rid of the criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a perfect system? No. But I'm not there. But basically, let's adhere to the laws of what, we have, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of criminals. Dude, there was an actor today. I don't want to say his name. I don't want to. No, I'm not trying to get the beef yet. I just wanted.
He's not getting into the beef.
I just wanted to smack him.
Yeah.
It's like.
Did you see the poll that?
Shut the up.
I mean, he wasn't exactly the greatest actor. He did stupid comedies and stuff like that, but still, he's an actor calling other actors out now. So we kind of like that, right? So Minneapolis City Council is attempting to delay and deny liquor license renewals to hotels that housed ICE agents. You can't make this shit up.
A controversial issue today in a Minneapolis City Council committee hearing. Normally, a liquor license renewal is a rather mundane topic. But today, 2 hotels, Canopy and the Depot, were targeted for allegedly housing ICE agents. Fox 9's Karen Scullin joining us now with the discussion. And so, Karen, what exactly is at issue? What did they talk about today?
Well, right. These two hotels saw protests during Operation Metro Surge, with some saying they housed ICE agents. Now, the argument is that created a public safety issue, and as a result, some council members say their liquor licenses should not be renewed because they have an obligation to care about the safety of their customers and the people of Minneapolis.
That's why they did
There was
it.
plenty of pushback saying housing ICE agents has nothing to do with a liquor license. Councilmember Pearl Warren noting hotels house all kinds of people like white supremacists, prostitutes, drug addicts. They don't ask what your profession is when you check in. But so this was a big issue here at the committee meeting today.
Right. So, Karen, is it even legal for a council to deny a liquor license based on who's staying at the hotel?
Well, it seemed like today, according to the city attorney, that there actually needs to be a connection between the licensed activity and the issues of concern, in this case, public safety. The motion in today's hearing was to let staff conduct an investigation on the matter, therefore delaying a Thursday vote. Now, there was plenty of opposition saying that was a waste of time if there was no legal basis for denial. Councilmember Rainville said he has spoken to leadership at the hotels who report cancellations due to the possibility that they could lose their liquor license. He also said workers would be impacted by that, which would be detrimental. Another council member noted the denial would discourage investment. Ultimately, the motion to delay a vote for investigation failed.
So, Karen, what happens next?
Well, staff will do a little investigation between now and then, so only about a day. But I'm told the liquor licenses for Canopy and the Depot will be decided by full council on this coming Thursday.
All right, and we'll be there to cover it. Thank you, Karen, in our newsroom tonight.
Wow, that's today, so I wonder what happened. I haven't seen it in the news, so apparently maybe they didn't screw him over, but, you know, fucking Democrat liberals over there in Minnesota. So let's see, who said this? I refuse to put my name on this policy that threatens girls' equal opportunity, privacy, and safety. Thank you, Heidi Moore. About time schools start protecting kids instead of affirming mental care. So this is a California school board member. Let's see what's going on here.
Tonight, we are the adults in the room. We are the adults who can ensure that girls in our district will never be placed in a situation where they lose opportunities to a male, are forced to undress in front of males, or subjected to sexual assault in their competitions. We have the power to ensure that thousands of girls in our district have equal opportunities in sports and protection from the types of situations I have shared. This proposed policy states, quote, "The board desires to give student health and safety the highest consideration in planning and conducting athletic activities," end quote. If we adopt a policy that continues to allow biological boys in girls' sports and private spaces, this statement is a lie. It is not safe or healthy to allow boys in girls' sports and private spaces or in their locker rooms. One mom already shared right here at one of our board meetings that her daughter has been forced to undress with 3 boys at Franklin High School. This isn't a rare incident, as some might like to suggest. Furthermore, several districts in California and other states are already being investigated by the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Justice regarding their non-compliance with Title IX. As the 4th largest district in the state, adopting such a policy will make us a target for investigation of non-compliance with Title IX. I refuse to put my name on this policy that threatens girls' equal opportunity, privacy, and safety. And furthermore, at this time, I would like to make a motion that we do not pass this policy as written today, and that instead we modify this policy to acknowledge federal anti-discrimination laws and bring this policy back for a vote at a later date.
I wonder if she's nervous because she's being forced to say that by somebody, or she's nervous because she's waiting for the outrage from the other people or members of on the dais. Oh wait, I already showed you that. I showed that earlier. Okay, I did a double today. All right, Justin, Caroline Levitt gives the perfect answer. Let's see what she gives the perfect answer to.
Supporters of Trump who live in the town say we're not sure we want this. What's your message to the folks in New Hampshire about this proposed ICE facility?
The message is that illegal immigration, while the border is secure, is still a problem across our entire homeland. And the previous administration allowed nearly 20 million illegal aliens from countries all over the world into our country. And the president and Secretary Noem have done a phenomenal job at deporting. Nearly 3 million illegals have left the country either through deportation or self-deportation over the past year. But obviously, there are a lot more illegal alien criminals left in our homeland. That includes in New England. There are many within our communities in New Hampshire, in Maine, and definitely in Massachusetts and in the Boston suburbs that need to be arrested, detained, and deported back to their home countries. And so the president and Secretary Noem, and I know ICE, are engaged with local governors across the whole country, including in New Hampshire, to open more detention facilities. This is an unfortunate consequence of the previous administration's
Actually, we don't. We just need to send them back.
That the president has
Instantly.
thankfully put a stop to. But of course, we still need to grapple with the illegal alien criminals who are here, and that requires more detention space.
I just say we just start sending them straight to their country of origin. Just send them back, or send them back to any country. Shit, send them to the Middle East. Send them to the Middle East, right? Bet you they'd like that. Let's see what else she said today.
DHS closed and the SAVE Act IDs. Both of these could get solved in 15 minutes if Senate Leader John Thune simply got rid of this phony 60-vote cloture rule and got 51 votes, and that would be the end of it, because everyone in this room knows if the Democrats take over, they'll get rid of that rule in 90 minutes. They already tried it one time, and the two Democratic senators that stopped it are no longer there, Manchin and Sinema. President Trump is backing a lot of these senators for re-election, and yet they will not get rid of the 60-vote cloture rule, which is holding everything up. What is the president's position on John Thune in the Senate finally getting rid of this so this legislation can get moved?
Well, the president has a good relationship with Senate Majority Leader John Thune.
DHS
Why don't they show the answer?
And the SAVE Act
Damn it.
IDs.
I wanted to hear the full answer from her. All right. Elon Musk announced his support for Nate Morris to replace Mitch McConnell. Good. We need to get Mitch McConnell out.
You know that Elon, speaking of the owner of Grok, he did endorse you, right? And he backs you, which is pretty awesome. So maybe a final question here. Your message to Elon and your message to the internet about that endorsement.
Look, it's an incredible honor, Benny, and it's incredible responsibility. I'm so grateful to Elon, everything that he represents to humanity, to the world, all the changes that he's brought. And most importantly, he was instrumental in helping us win in 2024. And I think Elon appreciates people that are willing to speak up for free speech, that are willing to take it to the establishment and get rid of this woke nonsense that has been plaguing our country for so long. And people that are willing to fight, and people that are coming from the outside. You know, Benny, I come from a rough industry, you know, the garbage industry, not the nicest people in the world to do business with. For those of your viewers who watch The Sopranos, not the nicest people. And I think we've got to have a fighter. We've got to have somebody who's willing to get tough. And I think Elon saw that. And I think his endorsement and his investment in this campaign is going to make all the difference. And we're so grateful. So we're going to run hard to win this primary here in May.
We have something very special for you, Congressman. I'm sorry, Nate. It was soon to be, hopefully, member of the Senate. Again, Nate Morris has our full endorsement on this program. And also, he has the backing of our creative and meme teams on this program. We have actually, in the short time of this interview, the 10 minutes of this interview, Nate, we have created a rhino hunting meme for you. I hope you don't mind. The world premiere of the Nate Morris rhino hunting in a trash truck. Let's go.
All right, time for the real adventure. Look at this. The sedan is alive. We're tracking rhinos from this beast of a truck. There they are, a whole herd.
That's all we've got. That's what we made so far. So your approval, Nate? Yes?
It's awesome. I love it. It's fantastic. Good. And listen, we got a lot of hunting to do, Benny. I think we're just getting started here in Kentucky. So I appreciate it.
That's funny. I started to make my meme that we're going to start going tranny on you. FBI has contacted Mexican authorities now in the Nancy Guthrie case. Do you guys even think she's still alive? I mean, this whole thing I think is a hoax anyways. But do you guys think she's still alive? I don't. I mean, she didn't take her medicine with her, you know. Apparently she needed to live with that medicine, you know, or else things are going to be bad. So I don't think she's alive anymore. I hate to say it. And I think a lot of it was Little fishy. Little way too fishy. All right, Antifa lawyer Marquetta Clayton seen laughing after she caused a mistrial in the case of 9 Antifa terrorists charged with shooting an officer during an ICE ambush. Remember that happened in Texas a while ago. If she's elected, Antifa will have their own judge in North Texas. So she's running for judge apparently. Marquetta Clayton, an Antifa line judge. I wonder what shirt she wore. She didn't say it. But you remember when they shot at that ICE facility? They were shooting at an ICE facility in San Antonio or somewhere, somewhere on the border, I think, closer to the border. President Trump hints at unveiling evidence that foreign powers meddled in the election. See, he's just not saying it, you know. He's going to show proof, unlike the Democrats who just said, oh, yeah, Russia, Russia, Russia. But when it was always them who were the ones working with Russia to get President Trump out. All right, ICE nails illegal alien rideshare drivers in Florida during Operation Liftoff. So apparently they went after Lyft drivers. Federal authorities are targeting illegal aliens who drive for rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft in the state of Florida. Immigration and Customs Enforcement have been spearheading Operation Liftoff, a multi-agency effort to crack down on illegal drivers in the Sunset State. Border Hawk joined ICE for their third iteration of Operation Liftoff, which unfolded on January 17th in Cape Canaveral. And they have a video, so let's watch the video. It's a long one. Let's watch this. This should be good. This should be good. What are they just doing? Going on the Lyft app and ordering cars?
Listen, I'm not going to ask you again. Hang out over there. I don't care.
How do illegals even drive for Lyft and Uber?
Good morning. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. This is Liftoff 3.0, third iteration of this. So what we're going to do is we'll move into the parking lot as last time, sort of flood the lot with the vehicles. So the first one's in, go all the way to the back of the lot so the guys can pull in behind you. Everybody just get out, start making contact, consensual contact. If the drivers do not want to speak to you, they do not have to. All right, so if they pull away, let them pull away. The Broward County Sheriff's Office is here. If they conduct a PC violation, they will take action. If those individuals are foreign born, go ahead and give me a call, and then we'll take them into custody. Officer safety is paramount, so make sure you guys.
All right, so they don't have to force the people to stop and talk to them, right? So it sounds like what they're doing is they're calling, they're going on Lyft and Uber and ordering vehicles or ordering a ride. And so you pull up, right? And then if you don't want to talk to them, you can take off. But then the sheriff department's going to follow you and look and see if you make any driving mistakes so they can pull you over. Which normally when a cop's behind you, especially if you're an illegal alien, you get a little nervous and you make mistakes.
Taking good positions, good tactical positions. You don't want to be standing in front of a vehicle. We all know what happens when that happens. So make sure you guys are taking good positions of advantage. And make sure you guys are conducting yourself professionally. Obviously, we all have the warrior mindset, but we still want to be professionals. All right, so no disrespecting folks. Just treat everybody with respect, okay?
This should be good. I haven't seen it yet.
Federal authorities are targeting illegal aliens
Dude,
who
it
drive
sounds like
for
I'm
rideshare
watching,
companies like Uber
Cheaters.
and Lyft in the state of Florida.
Sounds like the
Immigration
Cheaters
and
guy.
Customs Enforcement has been spearheading Operation Liftoff, a multi-agency effort to crack down on illegal drivers in the Sunshine State. Border Hawk joined ICE for the third iteration of Operation Liftoff, which unfolded on January 17th in Cape
Look at that cruise
Canaveral.
ship. Wow.
Dozens of agents, officers, and deputies from a variety of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies gathered for a pre-dawn raid on parking lots at Port Canaveral, where scores of drivers were waiting for cruise ship passengers to disembark.
Oh, nice.
Just after 6 a.m., a caravan of law enforcement vehicles, accompanied by a detainee transport bus, descended on several lots full of cars and SUVs with individuals waiting or sleeping inside. Officers immediately began knocking on windows, questioning drivers, and detaining foreigners who were in the U.S. illegally, racking up roughly a dozen arrests before daybreak.
Wow.
Several individuals attempted to evade by driving away, but they were stopped for moving violations and subsequently questioned by Brevard County Sheriff's Office deputies. While speaking with drivers who were in the U.S. legally, officers learned that some illegals had adopted new tactics to avoid law enforcement in the wake of previous executions of Operation Liftoff. Legally present drivers resent illegal aliens who steal coveted fares and reportedly even use illicit software to cut in line ahead of drivers waiting for new rides.
Interesting.
Illegal drivers were reportedly camped out in parking lots of local restaurants and gas stations, so plans were made for small teams to begin peeling away at random to avoid detection by drivers who communicate with each other via group chats and messaging apps.
Right now we're headed over to a nearby lot, a local convenience store. We got intel during this morning's checks of the folks. We got intel that they've kind of split with a group chat as to where they are. So we're gonna go check out this other spot that they kind of let us know that there's other folks at.
They're ratting on their fellow drivers. Good. It's like Cesar Chavez.
While en route
He
to a
was
nearby
totally
convenience
anti-illegal
store,
alien.
our team came across a minivan that had been stopped by a Brevard County Sheriff's Office deputy at a highway on-ramp. The driver was determined to be an illegal alien from Colombia, and he was taken into custody on the spot.
As long as you're not taking away Sophie Vergara, okay? Let her stay. She's a legal citizen, so.
This is us, though.
Yep, this is. They got somebody right here.
I don't want to turn it up too loud because.
Upon arrival at a racetrack gas station, we observed officers and agents questioning drivers in the lot, and several more arrests were made. We then made our way back to the port, where we learned a detainee had physically resisted officers before he was handcuffed and shackled.
Oh, wow.
Another target managed to escape by running into a swampy area, forcing officers to dodge alligators while pursuing him on foot.
Oh,
a Brevard County Sheriff's Office helicopter was deployed to assist in searching for the absconder, and he eventually surrendered after roughly an hour on the loose.
They got plenty
All
of
right,
chains.
so we're up to 16 in custody right now. We have 15 males, 1 female. Brevard County Sheriff's Office is responding to a runner, so they're going to try to track that one down.
Is that the runner in the swamp, maybe?
Yeah, so some of the intel that they gathered indicated that they have learned from this in the past, so they've been staging at alternate locations, and they're receiving text messages from people in the lot who are letting them know, hey, ICE is here, hang out, stay away. And then, so they've learned our patterns. We want to make sure that we're not letting unlicensed drivers hang out around Florida roadways. It's very unsafe,
How do they get
especially when you take into
Uber
consideration
license, though?
the Indian truck driver who killed those poor people on the turnpike. He was licensed in another state. So this is a double-edged sword for us. It gives us the ability to not only enforce immigration law, but ensure that we're protecting the Florida roadways.
You'll see bike racks on a lot of these guys' cars, but they put the last support right through the middle of the license plate in the back, so that the toll waiters can't read it. Because Uber pays for the tolls, so they're getting paid for the tolls, but they're never having to expense the toll. This would have been about right until just last year or two. Instead of 41 to 55, right now at 810, there's usually been over 150 XLs here. So they got the word, apparently.
Wow.
But that just shows you, well, some of them apparently did. That's the impact of and they're all coming over from Orlando.
That must be the woman they arrested. Oh no, she's an agent. I wonder what they do with the cars. Do they impound the cars and keep them?
We ended up with 18 in custody today, so it's a really solid day. But the most important stat is that we're all safe, right? No one has any injuries, nothing to report. Are you all right?
He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Carry on.
All right. That's the most important thing. So we arrested 18 aliens today from a variety of countries. We have Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Guatemala, Mexico. Yeah,
What's
so
up, Gavin?
most of them were in proceedings or have some kind of asylum application pending, but we can put them in removal proceedings if they're not already in it. It's the bedrock of our success, is our 287G partners, Brevard County Sheriff's Office, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE. It was great to have FBI come out today, CBP, Border Patrol, HSI. These partnerships are instrumental to our success. No, nobody else could do it better than Florida. Yeah, with the governor's support and all the leadership that we have here in the state of Florida, it's unparalleled around the country.
Okay, so you actually had a runner today. So no matter where they hide, even in a swamp, we're going to go get them, right?
That's right.
So tell me about it.
It was pretty exciting to see the bird go up, but that's Sheriff Ivey. He spares no expense when it comes to immigration enforcement. So we appreciate his support. And yeah, there's no place that they can run and hide in the state of Florida.
See you later, alligators.
During processing, ICE discovered one of the men, Rutilio Olvera Contreras, a 46-year-old Mexican national, had a disturbing criminal background and immigration history. Olvera Contreras, who used false identification to hide under an alias, has convictions for cocaine possession and felony driving, as well as habitual violations for driving without a license. He had a final order of removal issued by an immigration judge in 2016 and was granted a voluntary departure via ICE Air, along with 3 other detainees that day.
Right on. Well, 18 doesn't sound like they caught a lot of people that day, but that's 18 that are out of this country, right? And they're Lyft drivers and Uber drivers. How do they get a job as a Lyft driver and an Uber driver if they're illegal aliens, right? How do they show the proof of driver's license and all that good stuff? Anyway, DEI Democrats on Winchester, Virginia Planning Commission voted on February 18th to drop the Pledge of Allegiance, calling it unnecessary pageantry. Officials say it boosts inclusivity for illegal aliens and other diverse residents. Fuck the illegal aliens. What a fucking joke. This just sickens me every day. The more I hear about this stuff, they're putting illegal aliens first, and it's just so disgusting. So it's Black History Month, and President Trump today had some people show up to the White House for Black History Month. And they had the Black History Month breakfast or luncheon, or I'm not sure which it was. But this lady spoke at it today. Hey, what's up, Palms R Us? So this lady spoke at it today. This was at the event, and listen to what this young lady had to say.
And they invited me twice before Congress to testify for the beautiful bill that's going to change crime in the district. If you kill somebody, okay, you take a life, you do life. Just that simple.
Right.
If you do a hush crime, you do hush
What's up, Paul?
crime. Just that simple. And then we need National Guard, and which we did years ago. He brought it on. I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody
I don't think they pay,
deserves
Dog.
to be standing up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off of him. And Grandma said it.
Grandma said it. Oh, I like this lady. I like this lady.
Wow. That's pretty good. When is she running for office? Felicia, when are you running for office, please? You have my endorsement. You have my endorsement, Felicia.
Yeah, there was a lot of people praising President Trump today, right? Right, Paul? Let's see. I wasn't sure. I didn't really do too many of them, but let's see what this one is.
Let me just thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, we are living under the administration of the greatest president in our lifetime. we have the hottest country in our lifetime. And I want to make sure the mainstream media knows this, because you represent the people who basically counter what the mainstream media has done. President Trump was the president who fully funded historically black colleges and universities. President Trump took the lead and performed criminal justice reform. President Trump made sure that we had opportunity zones. Let me close by saying this. This country is at a crossroads, and we have the right president at the right time. And if you want school choice, like I know you do, President Trump wants it. If you want a law and order society and secure border, President Trump wants that. And more importantly, I say this because this is the greatest country on the planet. American citizens should decide American election. Vote for the SAVE Act.
Right? I love it. I love it. Hopefully we get the vote on the SAVE Act soon, and they do the frickin' standing filibuster so they can't fucking go for the 60-40 vote. All right. Now they're chanting. Listen to what they're chanting now.
Yeah, 4 more years.
Oh, if only.
Anyway, so
If only
he's
there's
a
a way to
special
do
guy.
it.
What-
That's legal. If only there's a way to do that. That's legal. All right, so let's listen to this. Eileen Wang, the Democrat mayor of Arcadia, California, is under fire after her alleged former fiancé and campaign advisor was convicted for being a Chinese spy. Oh, she's got a Eric Swalwell going on.
Arcadia Mayor Eileen Wang not taking questions about the sentencing of a convicted Chinese spy who she once referred to as her boyfriend and fiancé and who worked on her campaign.
Can you just give us your reaction to the sentence?
Mayor Wang has not been accused of any wrongdoing in connection with this case involving the Chinese spy that began to unfold several years ago. Tuesday's council meeting was the first since the now convicted spy, Yao Ying's son, who also went by Mike's son, was sentenced to 4 years in prison for his covert actions on behalf of the Chinese government. The feds say starting in 2020, Sun operated a pro-Chinese Communist Party news website for the Chinese American community. Sun was also directed by Chinese officials to boost the campaign of an unidentified Southern California politician. This is Wang talking about her relationship with Sun at a council meeting from December of 2022.
To my fiancé, Director Mike's son, who walks streets with me every single day, who is a real leader of me.
After Sun was charged, Wang tried to distance herself from Sun.
Number one, he's not my fiancé. Whoever wants to see he's my fiancé or former fiancé, please prove it.
You said it yourself, lady. Oh my gosh. She's gonna say, well, my English not so good. My English not so good. That's what she's gonna say, right? I didn't know my English not so good. Then why are you a mayor? Okay, look at this woman. It says this woman graduated from government schools with honors, got a full ride scholarship to college. She's studying to become the next AOC, and she's accomplished all of this despite being illiterate, thanks to DEI. This woman can't even spell or write anything. Let's see.
Did you ever think you'd be going to college here?
No, never. Never in a million years.
In some ways, Alicia Ortiz is living an American dream. The 19-year-old began her freshman year at the University of Connecticut in Hartford this fall. She's excited to study public policy, the culmination of hard work after moving north from Puerto Rico as a child. Do you remember when you first came to Connecticut?
Yes, I remember I was very nervous, but I know it was going to be better opportunities for me to learn.
But Alicia says those opportunities never came to fruition. Even today, could you read this, or would it take you a long time?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
Alicia graduated from the Hartford public school system last year, but she says today she is illiterate. She still doesn't know how to read or write.
How do you text?
When she was in early education,
They would just either tell me to stay in a corner and sleep, or just draw pictures, flowers for them.
And when she was in high school, she relied on speech-to-text programs and other apps to read and write essays.
So if you had an assignment where you had to write something, you'd open up a document like this and then do what?
I would go here to use the text-to-speech.
It says dictate.
Dictate, yep. I love pizza.
This is how you would do your assignments.
And then...
Cats of the World VA sporting a twin-prop airplane.
If you had to read something, that's how you do it.
She said her mother, who does not speak English well, tried to get answers.
She advocated so much. She went to the school. The principal will promise her that they will do better. And sometimes there will be people from the district or the directors promising her that they will do better.
Now, Alicia is suing the Hartford Board of Education and the city for negligence.
It is, Paul. She's suing them for negligence. Well, I mean, she has every right to, right? But well, I don't know. I don't know if she's illegal or not. So that makes a big difference to me if she's illegal or not. Should illegal aliens allowed to sue schools for their negligence like that? So this is a good one with these Democrat news guys, these liberal news who nobody's ever said President Trump is racist.
Question. Then yesterday in his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right? No. I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the president very much looks forward to having an event later this afternoon at 3 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month and to talk about how his policies are advancing opportunity and prosperity for all Americans through record tax cuts, through the Trump accounts that all Americans can access regardless of race. These are a great thing for the next generation of Americans. The president has also awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding to strengthen educational outcomes at historically Black colleges and universities across the country. Again, the president is protecting the hard-earned benefits of the 2.4 million Black veterans who honorably served in our nation's armed forces by reducing the backlog of veterans waiting for their VA benefits and for their home loans through the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there is a lot this president has done for all Americans regardless of race, and he has absolutely been falsely called and smeared as a racist, and I'm happy to provide you those receipts, and we gladly will right after this briefing.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. Every liberal news agency has called him a racist. All the time they do it. So get this. Fulton County election officials have been caught illegally backdating records submitted to a federal judge. Internal election board emails show coordination after records requests. Everything Fulton County is involved in is fraudulent. They got a... let's see about this. So this is
What's
Rob.
happening now is that their warrant is wrong.
Okay.
It has the wrong. It's not in elections possession. It's in clerk's possession.
It's in the clerk's possession. They're not our files. Good morning, all. Please email me if you support filing a legal response in court to challenge last week's search warrant. It's already been filed, according to Rob Pitts, with the clerk of the Superior Court. It's their files, along with the signed results tape, along with paper ballots given to the clerk of the Superior Court. That's the rule. The fraud in Fulton continues. We now have questions about whether the lawsuit that's brought by the Fulton County Commissioners, whether that is even valid and legitimate. We have to pay close attention to dates and to times. And if we remember, the raid to go get those ballots happened back on January 28, 2026. And what we then saw was the Fulton County chairman called Rob Pitts come out and make this announcement. And so let's listen in to this this man.
Short notice. I mean, I know most of you, but I want to begin by saying that this is election season nationally, statewide, locally. And there's been a lot of speculation about what we are doing, what we should be doing, advice and counsel from all quarters, particularly elected officials, would-be elected officials, and so forth. But I ask you to talk to us before reporting things that may not be factual. Because this is a serious case. And this morning, Fulton County filed a motion in federal court on my behalf personally and on behalf of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections.
All right, so this morning, when was that? That was 13 days ago. 13 out of 17, subtract the 2, you get 4. He made this announcement February 4th in the morning. That's when the lawsuit was filed. And the lawsuit was filed on behalf of Fulton County and himself personally. But does he just get to decide unilaterally that the board voted to file the lawsuit? Or does he actually have to go get the votes in order to do that?
Of course, it's the
latter. And we're going to show why specifically he did not comply with Georgia law. So the argument from the Georgia people is that they do follow the law. Turns out back in 2020, they didn't. And now they're still not following the law as they're trying to get their ballots back. Let's also talk about standing because frankly, this guy doesn't even have justification to sue. This board doesn't have justification to sue because remember, the people that were in possession of the ballots was the clerk of the courts. And we heard that from Nadine back during the body camera kerfuffle. And we'll watch this once again because this is all becoming clear and timeline matters right here.
The search warrant? When did they get here? Just unannounced. I'm gonna try and have the names of everybody that was out here. I already know how it's gonna go, but I mean, if they refuse, that's on them. Thank you. All right, so we were given very limited information.
So we have a search warrant for this, like literally for the entire location.
Okay.
But now we're going to end up amending another search warrant for another location involved. Okay. So we'll have that pretty soon.
Oh, you shouldn't have gave him a heads up.
This is all in regards to election side stuff.
You know where we're here, right? So I can't discuss more.
I got you.
More than that, but as long as we keep, the big thing is just trying to keep someone let media in here and keep media clear out of here.
What's happening now is that their warrant is wrong.
Okay.
It had the wrong. It's not in elections possession. It's in the clerk's possession.
Ah, it's in the clerk's possession. They're not our files. So how can Fulton County and Rob Pitts and the rest of the crew, how can they sue if it's not theirs?
So it had the wrong department.
So on our end, nobody received a copy of...
The attorneys asked them for it. They finally gave them a copy. Then the attorney's like, it's wrong. Allegedly waiting for the judge to update it.
What was wrong on there?
It didn't say, it just says, it says elections, which we don't have, in which they knew that before they got here.
The warrant will be amended slightly, but for all intents and purposes, A-HAD is what it's going to look like. We wanted to let her facilitate us moving through the building to unlock the gates so that we don't have to breach it because one way or the other, the records are coming with us today.
One way or another, the records are coming with us today. So Nadine Williams says it's not with elections, it's with the clerk. So a bunch of layers here to show exactly why this lawsuit is such a rigged and false lawsuit. Here we can see it's not a lawsuit that's brought by the clerk. It's brought by Fulton County Board of Commissioners, Fulton County Board of Registrations, and Fulton County, Georgia elections. Do you see clerk of the court in there anywhere? No. So that's like you suing on behalf of somebody else to get their files back. You don't have standing for that. It's not your files. They can go sue, but not you. So the whole thing is basically invalid from the very beginning, just on standing. That's one way to just nuke this lawsuit. This came out on February 16th. It's a letter that is sent by a woman called Julie Adams. And Julie Adams and the election crew have been keeping their eyes on this for a long time. And they sent this letter yesterday over to the Attorney General of Georgia, the Honorable Chris Carr, and they're explaining how fraudulent this whole thing is. They say, urgent, this is a request for investigation. There is being misrepresentation right now to a federal court by Rob Pitts and the election crew due to unauthorized litigation, misrepresentation of government entities, and an Open Meetings Act violation. So again, everywhere we look in Georgia, they're just kind of bending the rules and just kind of doing things that they think that they're entitled to do without following proper procedure. That's the problem that we've had this entire time. And they're doing it again. She says, all right, Attorney General Carr, I'm Julie Adams. I serve as a member of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections on the BRE. And I am requesting your immediate review of actions taken by the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, the BOC, the chairman of the BOC, Rob Pitts, the BRE chair, and the BRE attorney and Fulton County Attorney's Office. They all submitted this lawsuit in violation of Georgia Open Meetings Act because they filed it with without board approval, and they exceed statutory authority. They misrepresent what the board wanted, and we are now in active federal litigation. Here's what happened. Under Georgia, there's OCGA Georgia law 50-14-1B, 50-14-4, and 50-14-5. Rules, laws that they have to follow, and actions and agency decisions that are made in violation of those rules. It's called the Open Meetings Act, so that we can have transparency. The same thing we've been screaming about for years now. Anything that is passed or done without approval is void. Can't do it. So the lawsuit arguably is void. Following the execution of the FBI warrant on January 28th, we were here. It was a glorious day indeed. Fulton County Board of Commissioners, they had a meeting. First meeting after the FBI warrant execution back on 28th was on February 4th at 10 a.m. We also saw that they had another meeting February 12th, just days ago, at 11 a.m. But remember what Rob Pitts just did. At 9:41 a.m. on February 4th, we just watched the video, Chairman Rob Pitts, 9:41 a.m. Okay, he came out. This morning, we filed a lawsuit. He announced on live television that he and the BRE had filed a lawsuit about the FBI's seizure of ballots and the election documents. Rob Pitts said, we just heard him. This morning, Fulton County filed a motion in federal court on my behalf personally and on behalf of the Board of Registration and Elections. That's Rob Pitts and the Board of Registration and Elections versus the United States of America. Again, they don't even have a basis to even sue in the first place, but they are, because they're panicked, they're freaked, they know they're caught. The motion seeks the return of all files for the 2020 election that were confiscated by the FBI last week. You can see it right here. During the raid, we like the word raid. We know the government doesn't like that, but it sounds cooler than execution of a search warrant, and it's easier to say. But yeah, that happened, then they sued. Problem is, according to Julie Adams, who's on the board that would vote to approve this, the BRE never voted to authorize the lawsuit. Weird. Feels like that happens a lot over there. Now, at that moment, when he came out and announced it at 9:40 in the morning, 9:41, the BRE had not met on that day. The BRE had not voted at that time. The BRE, the board, was not even aware that they were suing as part of a federal lawsuit, according to Julie Adams. Then at 12:50 p.m., okay, after the lawsuit has been filed, this is what we're talking about. We have allegations that Georgia just backfills their mistakes. Oops, Joe Biden won, and we digitally inflated the numbers, and the election was stolen. So now we have to double and triple scan ballots, right? Now they have to go backwards and then fix the problem. At 12:50, over 3 hours after the lawsuit was announced on live TV by Rob Pitts, the chair then of the board went back into the emails and tried to go get the votes by email, even though the Open Meetings Act specifically forbids this practice. That's the whole point of having an open meeting, so that stuff is not buried undercover and in the gutter of Fulton. So she responded, Julie Adams, she's a part of the board. She says, I responded that I did not support litigation, and she even noted at the time, this is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. But again, they don't care. Well, whatever, shut up, Julie. Get out of here. The board members and the board attorney were all on the email. Okay, so every time they come out and lecture us and they say, well, we did an audit, blah, 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 they're all not following the rules, even the lawyers in the email chain. The chair of the board responded, yeah, I got all emails of everybody and we all voted by email. Additionally, Julie says, I forwarded to the lawyer and he responded that he received it. So they know she's objecting. You can't take an email vote on this, even though you filed the lawsuit that morning. These facts violate two provisions of Georgia law, OCGA, which under B1, official action must occur in public. Okay, that's the law in Georgia. And number two, it prohibits email voting and non-public decision making. You're not allowed to do that. And the email chain looked like this. They even attached it down here. And here's how it happened. You see at 12:50 p.m., that's in the afternoon, right there. In the afternoon, Rob Pitts came out and said, we sued this morning. They didn't even have the votes before they filed their illegal lawsuit. So then Sherry Allen sent this one out to everybody on the board. This goes out to Teresa Crawford. It goes out to Julie Adams, the author and the person who is assembling this. Douglas Shelby, copying Chad Alexis. So the email comes out going, oh crap, we should probably vote on this before we actually start suing the federal government to get our rigged ballots back. Good morning, all. Please email me if you support filing a legal response in court to challenge last week's search warrant. It's already been filed, according to Rob Pitts. Go and challenge now the search warrant pertaining to the 2020 election documents. People are responding saying, hey, wait a minute. Fulton County in Georgia law, they never required any actual scanned ballot images be kept. Okay, that's the argument, that we don't have to save them. Kevin Monkla says, give me a break. He says, no, sir. In 2020, actually, both state and federal law requires ballot images to be preserved back in 2020. It's called OCGA CA 21-2-500C, and it's these provisions of U.S. code. If that were not enough and somehow unclear.
So really quick, this is like, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. That's kind of what's going on here. And think about this. They said, well, we could do this, right? Biden's going to win because of us doing this, so he's not going to look into it. So, we don't have to worry about it. And then we'll just do it again in the next 4 years, so that way another Democrat wins.
If you can't read the statutes on their face, the Secretary of State, as the chair of the state election board, adopted another rule. You've got statutes, then you've got interpretation of the statutes in rules. And so the rule was imposed on January 23rd, 2020, making it crystal clear that we're saving the ballot images. So the Secretary of State, the chair of the state election board, read the law, read Georgia law, read U.S. code, and said, yeah, this is what the law says. And this is what we need to do. January 23rd, it becomes clear, and effective February 12th, 2020. Here is the quote. After tabulating and consolidating the results, the election superintendent, this is the rule on the books for the election, shall prepare an election file, which shall contain a copy of the information contained on each memory card, which shall include all ballot images as well, and see that right there? Oh, right in the rule. As well as vote totals and a copy of the consolidated returns from the election management system. Further, the electronic file shall be stored on a secure medium placed in a sealed envelope or container and shall become a part of the election materials, which shall be deposited with the clerk of the Superior Court. It's their files, along with the signed results tape, along with paper ballots given to the clerk of the Superior Court. That's the rule. The affidavit states, on the day of the deadline to report the results, Fulton County reported a recount of 511,000 ballots. Fulton County came out, gave us a number. It was 17,000 ballots fewer than the original count. Margin of error, 11,900. Following day, they said, oh crap. They then reported 527,000 ballots to fill the gap. Now, the affiant does not explain where he got these figures or where Fulton County allegedly reported them. And although the FBI agent describes this deficiency or defect, there's no further discussion anywhere about this. And he relies on 11 witnesses, which is a lot, to support these various propositions, but he doesn't have a single witness that shows how this happened explicitly. You'll learn more about that. The FBI says, unsuccessfully they say, tries to reframe these unsigned tabulator tapes as evidence of a crime because the law says you're supposed to confirm at the beginning of the count and at the end of the count who did what to make sure that it's legitimate and you have a witness to sign off on the chain of custody for the votes.
Right? So go check out Rob Cavea. He does really good on this stuff. He's an attorney and he knows all about this stuff and what's going on. Pretty cool guy too. I met him a couple times. So I highly suggest going over there and following him on YouTube and or wherever he is that you want to watch him at. All right. So you guys heard about this, right? These Canadian curlers got caught cheating. Well, I don't know if they filed anything yet or whatnot, but they were cheating. Because I guess after you're only allowed to touch the handle and then you can't touch it after you let it go. And they've been touching it. So now Canadian curling star Mark Kennedy claims he was set up. Premeditated cameras to catch him in an act of cheating. So he's not saying he wasn't cheating. Now he's saying, well, they did that on purpose to catch me cheating. Well, of course they did. Val says, I'm wondering what's happening in the Bronson case that was sent to the Supreme Court while proving there was serious fraud. I haven't heard anything about that lately. So the Canadian curling team is now claiming to be victims after they were caught on camera double touching the stone. They have come up with the plan here at the Olympics, as far as I know, to catch teams in the act at the hog line. This was planned. It was kind of evident that something was going on, and they were trying to catch us in the act. Well, of course they are. They don't want people cheating. So Kennedy and Coach Paul Webster accused Sweden of setting up cameras to catch them cheating. I know we're not the only team that they've done that to. So I think this was, I don't know what the word is for that, but like premeditated plan to catch us cheating. Well, you're not supposed to be cheating. Why are you blaming Sweden? So Sweden's firing back at Canada, saying they've been sounding the alarm on alleged Canadian cheating for 7 or 8 years. We've been saying this for maybe 7, 8 years or something. This media crew decided to place the camera on the hog line to see what was happening. So let's see what they're talking about here. Let's watch this. So you can see he touches it right there with his finger. I don't know how this helps. But
I haven't done it once. You can fuck off. You haven't done it once? I haven't done it once. Okay? Well, son, I saw your video after the game. How about you walking around on my grill the last day dancing around the house here? How about that?
So he's touching it twice. I don't know how that helps. I really don't, but apparently it does. Apparently it does help. Oh my gosh. You know, I haven't watched any of the Olympics yet this year just because of all the drama and stuff. I said, fuck the Olympics. And I mean, it's the winter. The only thing that I really watch in the Winter Olympics is the curling, because curling is fun to watch. For me, at least. All right, exposed. Hundreds of trucking companies across the United States are operating out of empty office spaces and deploying semi-trucks on our highways, despite having no real physical business presence. Frontlines reporter Savvy says discovered an office building where 32 separate trucking companies were registered. So let's see her video.
This is Savannah Hernandez in Columbus, Ohio, because you've heard of daycare fraud. Have you heard about fraud in the trucking industry?
Where is Hope?
Well, if you haven't, I'm currently at this location because apparently 32 trucking companies have been registered to this exact same address. Now, 16 of those companies are since inactive, but 16 of them are still active. And for those of you who might not be familiar with the way the DOT works, the Department of Transportation issues one DOT number to one individual trucking company. Now, the address of this is important because this is where all of the employees for said company come to work. It's where all of the records are kept. So if the DOT wanted to come and conduct an audit of said company, this is the location that they would come to. However, when we went inside, we did not see 16 trucking companies listed. Again, if the DOT wanted to, this is where there should be employees and records for 16 separate trucking companies. Now, 32 have been listed here in total, and one of those jumped out to us because their LLC address was different from their DOT address. Now, think of the DOT address like their office space, whereas the LLC address could be their headquarters, so not out of the norm. However, when we followed that LLC address, the headquarters didn't lead us to a trucking company, but to a home healthcare company.
Whoa.
Now, apparently, this is the headquarters for that trucking company that was tied to the residential office address. An interesting thing about this company, back in 2020, they got a PPP loan for over 100.
Oh, and real quick. So, you know, Sneaky Pete got me into watching, you know, Big Brother and stuff like that, right? So on Big Brother, I don't know if it was last year or the year before or something, a Sikh guy won it. You know, Sikh, they're Middle Eastern, but they're Sikh. And he won Big Brother. And then he went on, what's the other one I like to watch, where they go all over the world? Amazing Race. And he's like, yeah, he's like, me and my brother own a trucking company. And I'm just like, really?
$152,000. Now, this loan has since been forgiven, but something to note, the industry that the loan was listed under was home and garden equipment maintenance and repair.
Interesting.
Not trucking or home health care. Now, this also used to be a trucking company, and listed over here is Five Star Trucking. Now, this is a company that apparently had 25 semi-trucks tied to it, and it was sharing the address as this home healthcare company at one period of time. They have since been made inactive. They've had their authority revoked from the DOT, but at one point, this was both a home healthcare center and a different trucking company from that first one that we discussed. And if that isn't confusing enough for you, I followed the LLC address for the Ameristar Home Healthcare Company, and it led us to a residential address, a home valued at over $500,000. And tied to that address is not only this LLC, but also the LLC for a real estate company and another trucking company. Now, I wanted to come to this location and highlight the discrepancies that we are seeing in the trucking industry, and I actually have a long-form documentary coming out about everything that has been taking place. I'm working alongside...
By the way, after this, I have a long documentary. It's about 45 minutes from Angela Rose again, and she is still going after Ilhan Omar, so it's going to be pretty cool to watch.
My friend Danielle, whose family has been in the trucking industry for 3 generations. She's a data analyst, and she has been scrapping all of the public data from the Department of Transportation about these various companies, all of the trucking companies. You in some cases have hundreds of them that are tied to one address, or instances like this where you have a trucking company tied to a home health care company that are getting PPP loans that have since been forgiven. So we're going to be putting that out. Stay tuned for it because we are in Ohio. This is one of 10 addresses that Danielle gave to me. And again, very interesting angle here, which is why I wanted to highlight it. But we have 9 more addresses to go. And on top of that, this isn't just happening in Ohio. It's happening in New York. It's happening in Texas. It's happening in California. So we're going to be highlighting how broad this is and answering the very important question: how are illegal immigrants driving 18-wheelers? How are non-English speaking migrants getting CDL licenses and driving on our streets? We're going to be answering all of that and get to the core of how the trucking industry has gotten to the place where it is today. So stay tuned for that.
Good. All right, what we got next? All right, so Senator Bernie Moreno, speaking of Ohio, a Republican of Ohio, exposes jaw-dropping betrayal. $4,000 is stolen per American in fraud. That's in a billion.
If I had stolen $4,000 out of your pocket, would you hunt me down like a wild animal?
I think it'd be my wife that would go at you pretty hard. Yeah.
Well, that's what the taxpayers are losing in this country every single year to fraud. Think about that. Every single person who pays income taxes in this country is getting robbed $4,000. And when we sit here in Washington, D.C., and we say all this technical conversations, and we say, well, it's not just Minnesota. This happens everywhere, as if that's okay. In the business world, they call that institutional rot. When you can't even realize how bad your actions are because it's not our money. If it were our money, you wouldn't accept $4,000. We're accepting, by estimates, $500 billion every single year. So you mentioned, Mr. Talkov, and I'm picking on you because you said that what the American people want is the kindness and generosity of a nation. Is that correct? You said that? But they actually got stupidity and corruption. Isn't that more accurate?
They are not getting what they paid for.
They voted for kindness and generosity and got stupidity and corruption. And Mr. Corrin, I'd ask you over in Minnesota, because obviously we're talking about your state here. Just a simple outsider's point of view here. The federal government gave Minnesota a lot of money. Gives every state a lot of money. So I would...
Right. All right, we have one last clip, and we're going to go watch this Angela Rose video on Ilhan Omar. It's crazy. I watched it already. Watch the video. I see one brave woman drowning in a sea of radicalized, brainwashed, and privileged kids. These kids don't even know what they're talking about, probably.
Why are there tampons in the book? Give me my sign! I need that student's name. She tried to steal my sign. What is that student's name?
They're not going to give it to you. These kids don't even know what they're there for. They're just doing what their teachers told them to do. These are what teachers are teaching their kids to do. These are kids. And the police aren't really doing anything. He doesn't care. If he cared, he'd be doing something right now. Yeah, these are real winners. I bet you these kids don't even know how to spell ice. She hit me. Well, you shouldn't try to take her fucking sign. I wonder who gave the noisemakers. Yeah, some of them definitely need to be arrested. Just idiot fucking kids. All right, so we're gonna go to Angela Rose's video. She's investigating Ilhan Omar's sudden and massive increase in net worth, and she's been doing this for a while now. And this one's actually a pretty good one, too, to watch.
Investigating Ilhan Omar's sudden and massive increase in net worth has led us here, the middle of nowhere, because their wine business doesn't have any wine for sale, and Rose Lake Capital, their venture firm, doesn't seem to have any past clients. Yet, after some research, I found out about one past client. His name is Baiju, and he is either worth billions of dollars or worth nothing at all. So Tim Manette is Ilhan Omar's husband, and he went into business with Will Haler. Now, Baiju called Will Haler a serial fraud and says that he gave them fake documents.
Look at the individual's track record. He's a serial fraud.
In this video, we are going to discuss Rose Lake Capital's shady connection with Baiju, a man who owned a company called, get this, Think and Lear. Just kidding, it's Think and Learn.
That's a bunch of bull.
In this video, you will find out how this supposed billionaire, instead of making sense of Rose Lake Capital's high valuation, instead leads to $533 million more of missing money from a $1.2 billion loan from U.S. investors.
A lot northern than,
in this video, we are also going to discuss the contents of Ilhan Omar's book. Make sure you guys are subscribed. The reason why I'm making this video is because you guys have shown so much interest into this topic, and also we want to know what is happening to the millions of dollars that is being lost in fraud. And conveniently, at the same time, Ilhan Omar had a very large increase of her net worth. And so this video is going to be split into about 3 parts. The first one, I want to discuss Ilhan Omar's book, and I learned a lot about who she is. I originally thought that listening to her book was going to make me feel related to her story and actually like her and understand her as a person, where in actuality it made me
so what she's going to start talking about pretty soon is about the event where the guy sprayed vinegar on her, apple cider vinegar, and how she has stated in her book that whenever people piss her off, she just fakes something to make them look bad. She states it in her freaking book, so watch this.
Realize that this woman is kind of crazy, and she's very violent, and her way of coming to the United States is just messed up. It doesn't sound like she really even wanted to come, and her first impressions of the United States are really disgraceful. And so, secondly, we will discuss Baiju and their ties to Rose Lake Capital, and then lastly, we will return to the book, because at the end of her book, she addresses the marriage fraud allegations and says that they were so bad that it ruined her marriage with her first husband, leading to her 3rd divorce. Yet during the timeline and story of her life, she completely skips over that part. So we have so much to get into in this video. Starting with part 1 of this video, Ilhan Omar's book that is titled, This is What America Looks Like. Spoiler alert, her version of what America looks like is so degrading and messed up. You're gonna hear what her first impressions were. It's apparently worse than a war-torn Somalia. However, it's pretty hilarious that Ilhan struggled to even write a book without receiving an alleged violation from the ethics committee that claimed that she might have received an advance payment on the royalties of her memoir, but they dropped this investigation because all of the proceeds were going to go to the co-author Rebecca Paley. This advance was going to be in the 6 figures. You are about to receive an overview of Ilhan's entire life story only because it shows a pattern of behavior of her setting up fights and then making it seem like she is the person who is so brave and strong for winning the fight in the end or not backing down. I want to begin where her story begins, which is in the 3rd grade, where she's sitting in a classroom in Somalia, and these 2 boys boys are fighting with each other, and one of the boys yells at the other one, "F your mom," or something like that. And Ilhan Omar found this so incredibly offensive because, and at the beginning I was feeling related to her because, or not related, but I felt for her because her mom had passed away when she was young, and she was so upset about the disrespect to mothers. Also because in Islam, mothers are supposed to be revered with so much respect, and people are supposed to adhere to their every wish. And so she yelled at this boy and was like, "I'm going to fight you after school," in this place where all the kids go to fight. And so she met with this boy after school and brags about the fact that she beat him up, grabbing his head and rubbing his head into the ground. And actually, I was like, oh wow, you know, she really stood up for herself, because that's the way she makes it seem. But then the book continues to show a pattern throughout her life where she is continuously causing fights and hurting other people and then bragging about that. It's actually insane the amount of violence that she brags about. And she talks about never being able to fit in high school, and that if people would just look at her, she would punch them, and then they would go to the principal's office. But she always was very proud of this because she was fighting for herself. And so I personally believe that Ilhan Omar staged this attack on herself, like she has done many times throughout her life, and she shares it proudly in her book, and then she goes and jumps towards that person to fight them. And we saw that in that attack. Everyone was like, why would you jump at this man? Why would you try to attack them when you're a much smaller woman? And so she likes that. She likes people to perceive her like that. When someone's threatening her, she'll fight back. She talks about in high school, as she was changing her shirt, somebody hit her and she just started swinging, and there was this girl from the Dominican Republic that was under her, and she started to punch her, and the other girls were yelling, "Stop punching her, she's pregnant." And in her book, she proudly says, "I just kept punching her." Reportedly, she also choked a boy until he foamed at the mouth. And somehow, after all of this, we're supposed to believe that she's the victim of attacks? It's more probable that she wants people to see her allegedly being attacked, but turning up triumphant in the end and never surrendering. And actually, by listening to this book, I learned about another attack or another fight that Ilhan Omar was involved in while in politics. This is not something that happens to other politicians. They're not getting in fist fights or pulling each other's hair and stuff while on the floor. Yet, for some reason, it has happened to Ilhan Omar specifically multiple times. You probably never heard about this attack by 5 people in 2014. Ilhan Omar wrote, "You may have read about me. I'm the woman who was physically beaten on February 4th. She says that they attacked her because they were trying to silence her politically. In some ways, she claims the attack was because she was a woman and they were trying to put her in her place. So she took a lot of punches to the head and couldn't remember who was hitting her. It's strange because I don't know any other women in politics who have dealt with this. So isn't it funny that Ilhan Omar, in her own book, in her own words, she brags about having a long history of setting up fights. She said that she would punch people just if...
You know, looking at this too, just another thing. Why did he fill a syringe up like that? He could have easily walked in there with a cup, like he was drinking it with apple cider vinegar in there, right? But I think they did because they staged it. If she had a cup, it would have got all over her. But this just got on her shirt.
They were looking at her. And yet, we're supposed to believe that this apple cider vinegar attack came from a MAGA supporter and not something that Ilhan created just like she had throughout her entire history. Anyways, I want you guys to hear what her first impressions are from her when arriving to the United States.
In the taxi, I watched the darkened highways become city streets, and I was appalled by what I saw. Trash everywhere. For what must have been 10 minutes, I was glued to the window, taking in all the trash.
I was pretty angry when I listened to this part of the book because she expresses very little gratitude towards the United States in the entirety of the book, yet she really emphasizes all the things that she dislikes about the United States. And it's weird, it's so backwards, because she could bring out so much positivity of escaping a war-torn country and how she slept on the soft sand one night on the beach, and that she became friends with the other refugees and built a routine, and they even made a little makeshift movie theater. So she's able to find the positivity of living in Kenya and escaping Somalia, yet when she arrives to the United States, the only thing that she could see was that trash cans overflowing and a bunch of trash bags lining the streets. She emphasizes how horrible
I've learned not to read every comment
was
anymore.
and how it was so gross that people were using drugs like nothing she's ever seen before. And a part of this might be because she didn't originally want to move to the United States because she already had her life going in Kenya and didn't want to leave the other refugees behind. And so my understanding is that one of her missions is to help more refugees. That's like her main focus. And also she makes this metaphor that her grandpa told her when they were in New York on their way to Arlington, that this isn't the America that was meant for them yet, that like they were still on their way to Virginia, like leaving the big city. And so her metaphor is that she's still looking for that perfect America that she was promised. She really drives home this idea that she felt that she was lied to about the idea of America, that it was going to be so perfect, and almost as if America is the real fraud, because she was promised white picket fences, but yet all she could see is homeless people. We are almost at part 2 of this video where we are going to talk about this billionaire Baiju. And before we do that, I just want to point out another weird thing that I found in Ilhan Omar's book. We're going to return to more content of the book towards the end of this video when we talk about the marriage fraud. And I just wanted to quickly add that she shares that when they were in Kenya, the locals were not very happy that they had so many refugees, and that the only benefit of having refugees in Kenya was for the contracts that they were receiving to build the camps. So therefore there was always fires and her tent was being burnt down. And anyways, this just made me think about Minnesota. What benefits do the locals of Minnesota or of the United States have from having refugees? In my opinion, it's the same thing. It's these contracts where they get a bunch of money to build something, but then nothing ever happens or we don't see the value of it, and then they just invest more money into it. So Ilhan Omar said that in her own words. She knows that that is one of the only benefits to locals of having refugees. Now let's discuss Baiju. Just a quick disclaimer, my explanation of what happened is not going to make sense because it's very confusing. I just want you guys to hear how messy their interaction with Baiju was. Many of you guys already know that a formal investigation has been launched into Ilhan Omar's husband, Timothy Manette. It says that very little public information is available about Rose Lake Capital. Something that caught my eye about this document is that they're asking for all documents and communication related to travel by anyone affiliated with Rose Lake Capital LLC or East Street Crew, which is their winery, to the United Arab Emirates, Somalia, or Kenya, or travel undertaken to solicit business connected to these countries. And so looking into this and talking to Grok, the AI tool, I learned that they were potentially thinking about starting a solar panel business in Africa. And Grok told me that one of the reasons why people might do this or be inclined to do this is because they can buy really cheap solar panels, and through their brand they can sell them for way more than what they are worth. And so it's kind of like wine in a sense, where you can have a bottle of wine that's just generic and you can sell it for thousands of dollars. Ultimately, it doesn't seem like they ended up going in the solar panel business, so there was nothing more to look into in that regard. I just want to give you guys now now, a little quick timeline. This is a timeline that is not included in Ilhan Omar's book. Okay, so in 2018, their company, E Street Group, receives $3 million from Ilhan Omar's campaign, and then they shut that company down. In 2020, they started the E Street Crew winery place. In 2020 to 2022, they had a cannabis venture that ended in a fraud and lawsuit. Same thing with the winery. They had another fraud and lawsuit of $300,000 from their investor. And then again with the cannabis, they promised some, I believe, South Dakotan cannabis entrepreneurs a bunch of money, but then they ended up settling with them for like $1.2 million. Okay, so they kind of have a history of creating these businesses, getting investors, and then not being able to pay them back. And it almost sounds as if that is what then happened to them, because in 2023 to 2024, they connected with Baiju. So I have to explain who is Will Haler, Tim Manette's business partner. So even though Will Haler was the one who was receiving $10,000 flights to Dubai to go hang out with Baiju in his luxury house, he is still representing Rose Lake Capital that is co-owned by Tim Manette and Alex Hoffman. So who is Will Haler? He is a former senior advisor to the chairman at the Democratic National Committee. Will Haler sounds very high up in the Democrat Party, and he came in contact with a guy named Karam Wahid, and he would serve as the correspondence between Baiju and Will Haler and Rose Lake Capital. It is like we're living through the Dust Bowl. This story might tell us how Rose Lake Capital had such a sudden and massive increase in valuation. So how did Baiju become a client of Rose Lake Capital's global consulting firm? So Baiju bought out this company that was an online learning platform, and at the time it was apparently worth $22 billion, and he had $1.2 billion of debt from U.S. lenders. Problems began post-COVID era when there was no longer a need for online learning services, and this company basically wasn't worth anything anymore. Yet Baiju had spent or had moved or is hiding $533 million, and these lenders have no way of getting this money back. But don't worry, guys, the Democrat Party is here to help. So Will and Rose Lake received news that Epic had defaulted on their loan, and they decided to put in an offer. And on his declaration, he says that Rose Lake, in partnership with the U.S. company, eventually put an offer to Baiju that was predicted on both cash and stock. Yet it is very strange that he doesn't mention what that U.S. company was. So Rose Lake Capital, Tim Manette's company, was promised $15 million for their services, or 10% of the offer price. Now, what exactly was the service that Rose Lake Capital was going to be providing? The thing is that Baiju was secretly trying to buy back his debt and regain control of the assets, and Rose Lake Capital was going to pretend as if they had enough money to buy Epic. So Baiju wired them first $10 million and then another $1 million. There was so much sketchy stuff going on. It sounds like they thought that $11 million was theirs to keep as the fee, but then Baiju was asking for the money back. So it's very important to note that there is a $533 million that is completely missing, and Baiju completely downplays this by saying, well, that's just a small percentage of the billions of dollars that I've raised. So again, $533 million missing that Baiju apparently spent or is hiding, allegedly. But I guess for some reason with this group of people, millions of dollars that just continues to go missing. So there's about a 2-hour interview with Baiju. As I was watching the interview, all I could think about was this video.
What the hell do you think of yourself?
Basically, Baiju is a very good bad boy. I am a very good bad boy. And in the middle of it, they mention Will Haler.
William Haler, who said that you even gave him a plane ticket to go to Dubai so that he doesn't have to testify in court.
Completely wrong. That's another false allegation.
And Baiju says that someone approached us with investors who would have put money for settling some of the lenders if they were patient. He says that Will Haler came with fake documents telling that there is an agreed document for settlement. He said he approached them as a banker and that Will Haler is the one who fooled everyone.
He came with multiple fake documents telling that there is an agreed document. As a banker, he approached as a banker, not just me. So he fooled everyone who was involved at that time.
Whereas what I'm seeing is just a bunch of people pointing fingers at everybody except themselves. He says that Will Haler gave out wrong statements in the United States and that Baiju has no liquidity for representation in the United States. This is the part that really gets me. Baiju talking about Will Haler, he says, if you're sitting on the hundreds of millions of dollars you're claiming, we will have representation in U.S. courts. So why would Rose Lake Capital claim to be sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars if they never really had anything, didn't actually have any clients? But then again, if Baiju actually believed that they were indeed sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars, then why did he need to lend them the $11 million to make it seem like they had money?
If you are sitting on these hundreds of millions as they are claiming.
He says that in reality, they don't even have $1 to $2 million to fight in court. Now, the thing is we're taking testimonials from people who have a really bad reputation of fraud, and they are calling other people fraudulent. And it kind of reminds me of Amy and how she is talking about people in the Democrat Party and saying that they're the reasons why the Feeding Our Future fraud continue to happen, that they were sending out payments to people even though they knew it was fraud. And so it's like everybody thinks that Amy was the one orchestrating stuff, whereas she says that it was just a massive structural problem.
Do you think it made its way to the governor's office?
I struggle to believe it didn't. I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware.
And so no one's actually taking accountability, and then you cannot really trust the testimonials of the people who are telling you this information because they're also a part of the people who are being accused. And throughout the 2 hours, I can basically boil down everything Baiju said into the truth will come out someday. We are actually very honest and we are not fraudsters. And he seems like he's trying really hard to prove that. And on the other side of things, he is calling Will Haler and Rose Lake Capital frauds. So it's like, do we trust the fraudster in calling them frauds? So from my understanding, to sum everything up, Rose Lake Capital claims that they're in the consulting business and that they acquire businesses. Yet I don't know how they would acquire this debt, even though the debt that was being sold off was for a discount. And so that's like what they were doing. They had this debt and then they were buying the debt back for a discount to regain control of the assets. And Baiju also apparently told Will Haler that, well, he told him a lot of things. He told him that he could go to Dubai and therefore he wouldn't be in any trouble with the things he was doing in the US, and that he would have a great life in Dubai. He would get a $500,000 salary and be able to live a luxurious lifestyle. Anyways, long story short, my understanding of everything is that in order for Rose Lake Capital to look like they would be able to acquire this learning company, Baiju wired them $11 million. First $10 million in one wire and then later another $1 million. And so they had this money in their account to make it seem like they were so wealthy, and then they simply wired it back to Baiju. And just for doing this, they were promised $15 million. And so I don't really see what the actual consulting or actual value is in doing this. It was just as if he was being used as a pawn. Will Haler describes himself as being used as a pawn. And my guess is that it's not like he was confused about this. I think Will Haler knew exactly what he was doing. So Will Haler flew to Dubai several times. And guys, this is a whole lot of stuff. And so there might be some things that I am not completely getting. And I don't want you to take this for fact. All that I'm saying is that it looks weird that they had all of these strange businesses and investors that were basically getting screwed over. Yeah. And then suddenly they scale up to do this massive acquisition. Even though they didn't have the money to acquire it, they were just getting more investors from somewhere and receiving money to make it seem like they had money. So all that I'm saying is it's just a big mess. So Will talks about his multiple trips to Dubai and how each time he was becoming a little bit more certain that it could be fraud. There's also another weird thing in here that says something along the lines of even if they were not able to regain control of this company, all of the domains of it were held in a place that nobody else had access to, so they were still going to be in control of the company, even though I really wonder if this company actually has that much to offer. By the way, the logo that you're looking at right now, this one, I believe, has been bought out by a different company. So it's no longer associated with Baiju. This is just the history of what happened prior to them being bought out. So when Will Haler tried to return the $11 million, it says, within a few business days, an individual with a different name filed a fraudulent charge with Chase for the transaction. Baiju was telling them, oh, if this doesn't work, we can try this, or I have these other assets that will make up for it, but don't worry, you're gonna get paid somehow. Or that's how Will is painting him out in his declaration. And so Will also says, Baiju also declared that if the company was broke, it would also undervalue the U.S. assets to where we may be able to either buy the term loan B, which is the debt, or other bidders wouldn't come in with offers, and we could use shell companies or third parties to put in offers to buy the assets. The thing that is getting to me, even though this whole story doesn't make sense and there's so much back and forth, it's just repeated patterns, because even before they started working with Baiju, they did this wine company, they started that marijuana business, also working with investors, creating value somehow, and yet then they're not being valued. So it kind of sounds like there is a similar pattern happening here, but on a much larger scale. Apparently, Will was told he shouldn't have to worry about anything he was doing, that Baiju would provide him with a golden visa to Dubai, and his family can move there and he can take the salary. And he would be safe from anything he was doing. So obviously the US lenders were really upset with Baiju originally because there was $533 million that went missing, and his company wasn't worth anything. And then Rose Lake Capital comes in and says, we'll make it seem like we're going to acquire this company by you giving us money, even though we don't actually have any money. And something weird that Baiju said in his interview was that they were claiming, that Rose Lake Capital was claiming, to be sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet where would have that money been coming from? Why would Rose Lake Capital claim to be sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars if Baiju is telling the truth when they only had $42 in their bank account? So Will says that he found it suspicious where that $11 million that was wired to Rose Lake Capital came from, but he was reassured that it was just because he was borrowing the money, Baiju was borrowing the money from somebody in Dubai, and he didn't want that friend or partner to get entangled in civil action from the lenders. But he later learned that OCI Limited was a vehicle that Baiju had previously used, and then he says he immediately became concerned that he was sitting on stolen or misappropriated funds. To me, it is hard to believe, in my own opinion, that he was actually so immediately surprised when he had ran businesses for years that were following a similar setup. This was just being done on a massive $1 billion scale, and this time he was the investor, not the one running it. If anybody watching this video will help me read through Will Haler's declaration, I'll leave it in the comments or the description, and you can make a comment that just sums this mess up in one sentence, that will be so beneficial. Because if I was to sum it up in one sentence, it's that this fraud is a lot bigger than any of us thought. That it connects to people in different countries who are in my opinion, and what is shown online, known for being fraudsters, so much so that when Baiju went on that podcast, every single comment was upset that the host would even have somebody like Baiju on her show. So that guy has a really bad reputation that people in the comments say he will never be able to get back. And yet this is a person that Will Haler and Tim Minette's company, and Alex Hoffman too, worked in partnership with Rose Lake Capital. I really wish that I had the answers to understand why Rose Lake Capital claims to be worth $30 million. Are they just claiming that because they want other people to believe that they have purchasing power to acquire other companies? Or are they actually worth that amount of money? And if they are, then did that money somehow, in my opinion, it sounds like it could be allegedly some way tied to the fraud in Minnesota, potentially because of Ilhan Omar's position? Or did that money come from
We're gonna make you dinner right now, buddy.
Or some other type of foreign investment? Because it doesn't seem like they have anything here in the United States to show that they would be making so much money, because Tim Minette, all he does is run these businesses, and Ilhan Omar is making a salary of less than $200,000. So where did the money come from? Because the more that I look into it, the more entangled it gets, and the bigger the amount of money that is completely unaccounted for or hidden or missing. I mean, we're thinking about the millions of dollars missing from the government, but what happened to the $533 million that Baiju borrowed? He says that he put them back in his business. I just think that it is also funny to point out the person who introduced Will Haler to Baiju just happened to have wrote this article that is about no kings. I don't know. There's something more to this that I'm not getting. You guys can obviously see my frustration because I think I'm so clever. I'm like, I'm going to find out where the $30 million value comes from, or I'm going to find out where the $250 million missing from Feeding Our Future came from, all to eventually be led to another missing $533 million. So I'm going to try to sum this up. Baiju sent Rose Lake Capital, the service that they were going to be providing was to make it seem like they had money to buy their debt so that Baiju could regain control of his company. So he wired them $11 million to make it seem like Rose Lake had money, and then they sent it back. Now, there's a chance that that $11 million came from the $511 million that still remains missing. So Grok told me that I guess he hides the $533 million by moving it through layers to a Singapore entity or back to his company, Think and Learn. Honestly, in my opinion, there's still so many pieces that are missing to this story, as we only have Will Haler's side of it and a few second clip from Baiju talking about Will Haler. And there's still a full-blown investigation being done into their business operations in multiple different countries and back in Somalia, where Ilhan Omar is from. And don't worry, guys, we're going to get into the third part of this video where we talk about the potential marriage fraud. I just want to conclude the second part of this video by saying I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get the exact answer as to how Ilhan Omar's net worth increased so much in 1 year. I am happy that we were able to point out and bring up this strange correlation to somebody who just wired them one day millions of dollars. So maybe that somehow ties into it. And yet at the same time, I don't think that it's a coincidence that 3 members of the Democrat Party who are very high up, have very strong ties to it, working for the DNC in high positions, would just partner with some random person. Because honestly, if I received a phone call from Baiju, I would hang up on him and I would be like, I'm not giving that guy my social security or any information at all, just because of how it seems. Yet for some reason, they felt very confident in expecting $15 million from this guy for simply receiving a transaction. And so ultimately, it just sounds a bit off, and it shows that there's more to uncover here, and potentially it could show that there is more corruption within our country, that people are collaborating with other business people or whatever they may be abroad to hide money. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to part 3 of this video. The allegations of Ilhan Omar marrying her brother. You guys probably know that the marriage fraud allegations are not something new. Check out this post from 2020 from Jessica O'Donnell that says, Ilhan announced she got married tonight. Thoughts and prayers for her brother. We have Lives of TikTok saying that she did marry her brother and admitted she would do what she had to do to get him U.S. papers. And I want to, again, talk about the story that she shares in her book and how it correlates to an interesting time and very sentimental time with her family. And also going back to her youth, she said that she basically didn't want to go to the United States, and the only way that she would do so is if her father and her grandfather, I believe, could come with her. So it was extremely important that she was not going to the United States alone. So, I mean, that I can say for sure because she says that in her book. You can also see that people are sharing a marriage license which allegedly proves that she did marry her brother. So let's go ahead and go through her story. We already talked about all of these fights. She kept hitting this girl even though they were ripping her hair out. And so anyways, with her first marriage, Ilhan Omar herself says that marriage was just a concept and it struck her as bizarre. And it was nothing meaningful of what her and her first husband was. So that gives us an idea into how Ilhan perceives marriage as not being a big thing. Like it doesn't really matter, I guess. Ahmed was her first marriage. They married in 2018 and divorced in 2019. So then she talks about 9/11, and she was attending class in the Mall of America, which is the country's largest mall, and they believed that this could be a target on that day, so everybody evacuated. And she says she was upset and confused and mourning, yet she also says that as a Muslim, it was very difficult because suddenly their religion was considered dangerous. So Ilhan Omar felt like the new fear and Muslims being held responsible for 9/11 was the real attack. That's really weird because I thought that the thousands of people who died in the Twin Towers were the real ones under attack, but okay, sure. So then she talks about her pregnancy. She had a miscarriage. She talks about this midlife crisis that she had after that marriage where she wasn't sure if she should wear a hijab or if she shouldn't wear a hijab, and she was unsure about her family relations. And I personally believe that this is the period of time that people believe she could have allegedly committed marriage fraud. And so she says she shaved her head and applied to college. So then I was looking up stuff about her brother, which this all, like, it's weird that in a book to her own supporters, she wouldn't tell them how she met her husband or anything about him at all. It was just a midlife crisis, and we're not even going to really mention that you got married there, but I thought marriage didn't mean anything to you. So why would you get married if marriage just was a concept and it was bizarre to you? Like, why do it then? You know, what's the point of it? So anyways, she went on a 3-month trip and she wanted to visit Mogadishu, yet she had to have escorts because of how dangerous it was. But I just find it very interesting and convenient that during the time people allege this marriage fraud happened, she reconnected with the family she strayed away from. And her family was forgiving her for all of these shenanigans that she gets herself into. So during her travels, she asked her father for forgiveness for her teenage years, and her father also apologized to her. I'm not sure if her grandma's house and childhood home was in ruins or if she was just worried that it was going to be, but anyways, I guess she goes back to the United States and begins talking about her experiences and that she wanted to advocate and create policies that help other refugees. So that really shows where this woman's focus is at. And then she just says that she repaired her marriage and she remarried her first husband and had another kid. But while I was reading this, I was like, wait, Aren't you forgetting something? She mentions February 4th, a city hall meeting that led to her having a bleeding face. You know, it's pretty interesting because she mentions the Star Tribune as being super reputable and saying that if any of the marriage fraud claims were true, they would have gone to the Star Tribune with this news instead of some random website that Ilhan says made up this claim and then deleted it, but then a bunch of other people copied it. In her book, she says if the allegations were true, they would have gone to the Star Tribune. And now when you research this stuff, the Star Tribune is one of the main sources that alleges this fraud. So she says that the allegations are that they're from the same clan. Apparently she was receiving a bunch of threats. To me, it is weird that if there wasn't anything there, then how come she didn't mention like how she met this guy? You know, like if we were writing a book, we would be like, honestly, I went to a bar and I just met some random guy. We went to Vegas and like we eloped. And to be honest, I don't even know his last name. As long as he doesn't have the same last name that I do, it's important to note that these kind of marriages between relatives are a common cultural practice in Somalia. She mentions all of the allegations, but she never mentioned it during the story. You know, it was a midlife crisis and that's all we're going to hear about it. But then she talks about the fraud. There was a bunch of conspiracies that she applied for a marriage license in 2002 and then again in 2009, and speculation that she married a relative illegally to get him entry. So similar to how Ilhan Omar would get into fights, but she wouldn't back down and she would beat them and she was never afraid. She's such a fighter and stuff. So she does the same thing with the allegations. She mentioned all of them and she's like, but I'll never let them stop me. Ilhan Omar, she kept rising. And then she talks about this trip that she went on with none other than Nancy Pelosi. This is a woman who she looked up to as the world's biggest role model. Like Ilhan Omar is awestruck by Nancy Pelosi. Maybe that's the reason why they started a winery business in the Napa Valley area where Nancy Pelosi also has vineyards. You know, it was so funny to finally see some type of connection between Ilhan and Nancy when I knew there had to be with the whole winery thing. So she says, so in the summer of 2019, she was invited on this trip to Ghana. And in her book, she just totally fangirls over Nancy Pelosi being the highest ranking female in Congress of US history. It's so funny because we've been mentioning these two people for a while and how the same thing that they have in common is their really low salaries, but yet explosive and massive net worths. So it's so funny for her to be like, oh, I just love Nancy so much. Yeah, you clearly take a lot of inspiration from her. And so she had this heart-to-heart with Nancy Pelosi on their trip. And Nancy told her that she was so impressed by the support that Ilhan was getting. And Ilhan said, yes, but every time I'm attacked, the attacks seem to be amplified by the support. She said, I told her sometimes I wish I could shoo them all away and take the beating myself so I don't continue to feed the craziness. Nancy sighed. And Ilhan talks about how knowledgeable Nancy is, that she knew Ghana's economy in percentage change of cocoa exports last year, but also wrapped a blanket around me while I slept. Wow, these people, they're human, guys. They're human like you and me. They just use blankets like us and ride private jets on their trips to Ghana, but they also use blankets and they also make salaries like us, $100,000 or so, but somehow, guys, they're worth multi-millions of dollars, right? These people are so powerful. Nancy Pelosi is really up there. I mean, these people are
I don't like the way she says Nancy Pelosi.
They can make all kinds of propaganda, do whatever they want.
It's weird, or am I weird?
But yet, speaking of that, it's so backwards because then Nancy tells her, you know, Ilhan, the amount of money that is spent on ads or anything else to try to take you down is mind-boggling. The truth is it is a badge of honor to have this many people invested in one's failure. If they weren't afraid of your power, they wouldn't work so hard to erode it. I think people are confused as to how you got so much power. That's the real issue at hand. Are you guys really that disconnected? It's not that we don't want successful winery companies. If that was the case, then I would be here like, why do you guys actually sell wine? But instead, that's the opposite. It's where is the wine? How come you guys aren't actually running businesses, but yet worth multi-millions of dollars? So anyways, this meant so much to Ilhan. She says that she couldn't get why just some random former lover was such big news. So she talks again about how difficult the marriage fraud allegations were and how they put a strain on her marriage. Why? Why though? You know? Why though? But they started distancing themselves from each other and just began to live their own lives. So
Maybe,
then
Gavin.
one day, Donald Trump repeated the claim that she married her brother, and she started to rally to help Hillary Clinton win the race, and you guys all know that she lost. Ilhan claims that Trump's sole motivation is his own self-interest and talks about how he blocked Muslim countries like a travel ban, and that to me makes sense because Ilhan's sole purpose, I mean, first of all, she didn't want to come to the United States, and then when she is here, she wants to use her presence here to help the people back in the countries that she wished she never left. You know, she doesn't care about us. We're just left here looking like pawns thinking, well, why didn't we make $30 million by having a consulting company or by getting into politics? Because apparently that seems to be the most lucrative career out there. So she claims that there was a rise of verbal attacks on her. She had to have protection. And then she sat down with Bernie Sanders. So I think sometimes we see Ilhan as just another congressperson, a random person, yet she has a close personal relationship with Nancy Pelosi. Bernie Sanders is just weird. I'm not even gonna lie, the last chapters of the book, I was just like, I can't really do this anymore. And so I don't know if she mentioned her other divorce again and then getting married to Tim Manette, this guy who ultimately helped her become a multimillionaire with all of these businesses. I wouldn't be surprised if her connection to Nancy Pelosi and learning these ways of opening up businesses and opening herself to more people in the Democrat Party, like she did when she married Tim Manette. I mean, that's really when things took off, when she started to connect with higher Democrats who I believe probably opened her up to some loopholes, some connections that would make her net worth so much money in such a short time. This was the craziest all over the place video that I have ever made. Make sure you guys are subscribed. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Right on. She actually put in a lot of work in this video. You got to give this young lady a lot of credit. She does a good job on it and stuff. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a great night. I'm going to get going. I am going to start up right away a documentary video for subscribers on, or for premium members only, because I have to get my 5 hours in, but I'm not going to be here. I'm just going to show 3 hours worth of video. So if you want to watch some documentaries and you're a premium member on Rumble, you can watch it, but I'm going to go be doing other stuff like feeding the dogs when I do that. So if you see another video pop up, it's just going to be documentaries, no talking, nothing, just the documentaries. So I can get in my 5 hours. All right, guys. See you later, Gavin, Goofy, and Paul. I don't know if Graw's still here. Creed, all you guys have a good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night, y'all. Catch you guys later.